You won't believe what happened next. He made us laugh. He brought us comfort. And through it all, he never said a word. But after more than 20 years standing beside one of the most powerful men in entertainment, David Mann finally broke his silence. And what he revealed? It's not what anyone expected. To the outside world, David was the funny man, the goofball in the wild suits, the heart of every scene he touched. Whether on stage or on screen, he played Mr. Brown with such joy and commitment that fans felt like they knew him personally. And for years, he stood loyally beside the man who helped build that character, his longtime creative partner and friend. But here's the truth. Everything you saw on the surface was only half the story. Let's take it back to the beginning. When gospel stage plays were drawing thousands, and a once homeless playwright was transforming his pain into a billion-dollar empire, David and Tamala Mann were right there. From the first curtain call to the last TV taping, they were cornerstones. David, the comic relief. Tamala, the soul-stirring voice. Together, they were the heartbeat of a movement. But behind the laughter, behind the faith-filled scripts and standing ovations, David was wrestling with something fans never saw. A growing disconnect between loyalty and respect. In those early days, the vibe was different. It felt like family. They prayed together, created together, hustled together. But as success rolled in, things shifted. Insiders now say that while the man at the top took full control, writing, directing, starring, others, like David, were slowly edged out of the creative process. Contracts from their humble stage play days reportedly locked some actors into deals that didn't evolve with the empire's success. Still, David kept quiet, always smiling, always present. Was it loyalty? Or was he just holding on to the last piece of something that used to feel like home? Things came to a head during the filming of Meet the Browns, the hit series that brought David's character into living rooms nationwide. On screen, everything looked perfect. But off screen, David was struggling. According to people close to the show, during the third season, something changed. David's input, his ideas, his emotional investment, started getting pushed aside. There was a specific episode, one he had been excited about. It showed a deeper side of Mr. Brown. Vulnerability. Growth. It meant a lot to David. But just before filming, it was cut. Gone. Apparently, the showrunner thought it was too serious for the character. That crushed him. And that wasn't all. People say ideas David had shared in private, little jokes, emotional beats, character quirks, were showing up in scripts, but without credit. For someone who had been there from the very beginning, it felt like being erased. Eventually, David confronted him. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, but it was honest. Something along the lines of, "This ain't the energy we started with. You said this was ministry. Now it feels like control. Where do I fit in this anymore?" The reply? Reportedly cold and final. "This is my vision. If that's a problem, you know where the door is." And that was it. The turning point. Publicly, David didn't make a scene. He kept it cool. But his absence from future projects spoke volumes. Roles slowed down. His presence faded. And for the first time, fans started asking questions. Then came the rumors. Turns out, David wasn't the only one feeling the strain. Other actors, people we came to love, started disappearing from the screen. Cassie Davis, Patrice Lovely, Tasha Smith, all incredibly talented, all seemingly pushed aside. The reasons varied. Creative clashes, spiritual concerns, lack of input. But the pattern was clear. And David's silence? It had helped hold the illusion together. Until now. When he finally spoke, on a gospel podcast of all places, he didn't name names. He didn't have to. When asked if he had ever felt used by someone who claimed to be doing kingdom work, David paused. Then he said, It hurts most when someone uses God's name to get your loyalty, but deep down, it's not ministry. It's manipulation. I thought it was family, but I was just a piece on someone's chessboard. The room went quiet. So did social media. For about 5 seconds. Then came the storm. Fans instantly connected the dots. The man who'd once played the silly, lovable Mr. Brown had finally shown the depth behind the grin. This wasn't petty. This wasn't drama. This was a wound. But here's the real twist. It wasn't even about money. It wasn't the credits or the contracts. It was the betrayal. Back in 2017, David was told there'd be a Mr. Brown spin-off, a whole show centered on the character he helped bring to life for nearly 2 decades. David was thrilled. He started prepping, pitching ideas, even cleared space in his calendar. Then, silence. No green light, no update. Months later, a brand new show came out. Similar tone, similar humor, but a whole new cast. No call to David. And the worst part? Elements of the very ideas he'd shared in private showed up in that series. That was it. That was the moment he realized this wasn't ministry. It was business. And he was just another product. Through it all, Tamala was there. Quiet, but steady. She had her own concerns, especially as the content shifted away from faith-based roots and into more secular territory. But she never trashed anyone. She simply stood by David and reminded him, "You don't have to burn bridges, but you don't have to keep crossing ones that are crumbling under your feet either." So they walked away, with grace. They focused on their own path, their family, their faith, their message. They launched their own projects, released albums, created a reality show centered around love, laughter, and God. And it worked. Fans didn't just follow, they embraced them harder than ever. Recently, during a live Q&A, someone asked Tamala why they no longer work with their old team. Her answer was honest and real. Sometimes your spirit just doesn't align with the direction anymore. It's not hate, it's growth. That was confirmation. And it spoke volumes. Since then, others have started speaking up. Vague tweets, quiet posts, subtle interviews. Nobody's naming names, but the message is clear. David's honesty gave others permission to stop pretending. As for the man at the center of all this, still silent. No interviews, no comments. But silence, especially when it's loud, says more than words ever could. Meanwhile, David and Tamala are doing what they've always done, lifting others up. On stage recently, Tamala performed her powerhouse hit, "Take Me to the King," and David stood beside her, not as Mr. Brown, but as himself. A husband, a father, a man reclaiming his voice. As the music faded, he told the crowd, "Sometimes, God has to pull you out of someone else's spotlight so he can shine one on your truth." And just like that, the audience stood to their feet. So, what does this all mean for us? It means that even in an industry built on image, there's still room for truth. That loyalty doesn't mean losing yourself. And that sometimes the quietest ones have the deepest stories to tell. Now it's your turn. Do you think David stayed silent too long? Should the other voices come forward? Or is the silence speaking loud enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Because this conversation, it's only just getting started.